Life is yet a mystery, and man's greatest mystery is himself. Man, made in the image of the Creator. In whose image was woman created? And in the intention of her Creator, what is her nature? Who is she now, and who is she to become?
Come on, tell me how to. 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 Come on, tell me how to.
Who is she, and who is she to become? Portrait of a woman, each unique, each hopeful, each experiencing suffering or joy, each loved by God, each like ourselves. Each was once a newborn infant, a creature that trembled under the sudden impact of light and the first in-breath of air and the deep instinct that now she was responsible for her own survival. But even as her mother nursed her and protected her, so did the Christian community surround her with concern and education. And the church has become a global fellowship of receiving and now giving. Receiving, giving, becoming. The portrait of a woman. A portrait of mystery, a constant movement of lights and moods and contours of many portraits, and the images of many people whose lives touch together in her life. The life of Maria Campos. Maria's school is part of People's Central Institute, a Methodist social center set in the heart of Rio de Janeiro's oldest favela, a settlement of squatter housing that drifts down the side of the ridge. One-fifth of the population of Rio lives in these favelas. Across the ridge lies a different perspective of Brazilian culture. And high on a mountain, looking down over the city like Jesus weeping over Jerusalem, is the statue of Christ the Redeemer. At the center of the city, down in a gully alongside the favela, there's a small area of weed grass and trees, and songbirds. So Maria's brother adds to the family income by trapping and selling the songsters. What is the meaning of freedom? How small or how large is a trap for birds or people? Is the cage outside the person or within? The bird was one of many her brother intends to sell, except this one he has given to Maria to do with as she pleases. The end of another afternoon school session at the Methodist Center. There are many schools in Rio, public and private, but not nearly enough for the increasing numbers of children and youth. For those fortunate enough to get into school, the standards are high, the competition hard. But before Maria can get to her homework, her regular chores have to be done, and her pet songbird must be fed, its cage tended. While her father repairs shoes for a living, he still holds on to dreams of a better life for his family. The social worker from the Methodist Center regularly goes with the teachers to call at the homes of the pupils. They both know that the few hours of formal schooling in the classroom are only a small part of the child's day-by-day education. To get at basic attitudes and behavior, you have to reach the child within her normal environment and suggest that the environment can be changed. Perhaps Maria's family can't move away, but they can begin a change from within. And while the social worker helps the parents work out some immediate problems, Maria has something to show her teacher, her dearest possession. It isn't the whole answer, but now Maria's father and mother are attending night classes at the Methodist School and Social Center. This is the same classroom where their son attends high school in the afternoon. Elementary school sessions are held in the morning. Seemingly an ordinary teacher and an ordinary young girl. But extraordinary things are happening within. Over the past few months, many influences have been playing on her. And now she is like a germinating seed moments before it breaks through its shell. As a part of the curriculum of new experiences, the school takes the children up to Corcovado, the mountaintop on which Cristo Redentor stands, Christ the Redeemer. Maria didn't know why or how, but suddenly she felt older, and all that she had been learning or thinking began to piece together. And back at home, there was something she had to do. Her brother had said it was hers to do with as she wished. And the seemingly ordinary life continues. The 3 R's, games on the playground, cooking class. Portrait of Maria. Across the ridge in Rio de Janeiro, junior college for women, the campus of Colegio Bennett. And another portrait is taking form. The portrait of Caterina Tavares. Caterina is studying to be a teacher. Her chief interest and major course of study is kindergarten or the primary grades. She's convinced that in these earliest years, a person's basic attitudes are learned, good or harmful. So we join battle, never expecting to out-reason the genius of childhood. But perhaps one can outmaneuver. Aristotle, Shakespeare, Einstein, Dante, Toynbee, Descartes, giant minds from all continents and points of view. And we're asked to stand up to them, critically, with our own ideas. Thousands of volumes, the life conclusions of our predecessors, now waiting to come to life again in our own minds and actions. An outdoor chapel service. growing up, of discovery and excitement. And this is a time. As a member of a college service project, Katerina is discovering what it means to lose oneself in the lives of others, and so begin to find one's own deeper nature and joy. The Portrait of a Woman, Katerina Tavares. Seoul, Korea. Population, 4 million. Before, 1.5 million. Now 8 times that number, most of the people refugees from North Korea. Many of them unable to make the extreme adjustment. Many of them in serious trouble. Is facing a crisis, and she needs help. And one of those millions is a Christian woman who's being called in the night. Here is a God needs her, especially to help other women and families of Korea. Portrait of a Woman, Tae Young Lee. Tomorrow she will meet with Dr. Tae Young Lee, and they will thoroughly explore her problem. Dr. Lee has written books advising Korean women as to their. Now she is preparing a history of women's organizations and movements in Korea. This is part of her strategy to influence legislation to raise the status and dignity of women. 3,000 years older than Christianity, women have accepted their role as man's domestic servant. After 1945, some of the laws were changed, but the practices remained. Tae helped change the social climate if she became an attorney, even though she had 4 young children at home. After 8 years of intensive study, and with the encouragement of her husband, she became the first Korean woman to graduate in law, and the first to pass the bar examination. But her work is not confined to the courtroom. In her weekly broadcast, she discusses actual problems that women describe by letter or telephone, and her down-to-earth counsel is widely listened to. Talks to the women within the context of their family and home life. A large part of Tae Young Lee's time is spent. She founded in Korea after traveling to America to study American legal. The costs of operating the counseling service are paid out of earnings from her lectures and writing. So, she had been an undergraduate student at Ewha Women's University. And now Tae Young Lee is back, working closely with its law. And in addition to her many other fields of work, of the 557 young women who are enrolled in the College of Law. The Portrait of a Woman. It is a portrait reflected in of the image of God. Of the women who have never been able to go. Vida Simango had just enough primary schooling. Because her friend knows of for young women the possibility of continuing, the dreams of what life might still become, how much if she old and grade, and the 30 other students could begin to back to her village and her husband, and proving herself. Arithmetic becomes